This is my first time here, but I just want to say
Oh, welcome.
in regards to, I had a personal experience. I had a near-death experience.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
And I had a prejudgment experience. You mentioned something about seeing like a movie. I had that experience.
Wow.
And it's a state of being. It's a state of being in which we're all called to be made perfect, to be perfect. And that mortal sin, when you're in mortal sin, the Spirit of God is not here. You don't have the Spirit of God in you.
Yeah.
You know, I was condemned to hell, by before the Lord. And I'm telling you, this is what happened to me. This is why I'm here.
Wow.
So Christ Himself said it. You will take the narrow road.
Yeah.
My own personal experience is a state of being. You can't ask a person who's obese, who's spent his entire life in the bed eating and never standing up to stand up and become a marathon runner.
Yeah.
It's a state of being. And that perfection, that purification occurs here in life.
Yeah.
The desire to love, to become one with love, has to begin now.
Yeah.
So to assume that when we die, we might, your being is informed by the Spirit of God. That's why do so many martyrs die to bring the baptism in. I just want to read my personal experience, so I know that it's
Yeah. And so we have someone that had a near-death experience, and he says that he was condemned. So which is very powerful, and it does happen. And so that's a good thing, mortal sin. So mortal sin is, we have to realize that when this whole thing about rejecting God and the continuation of our soul, it starts now. It starts now in this life. So when we are already rejecting God here, then we are very likely going to, that's why we said we hope there's no one in hell, but there probably is people in hell, because if someone is rejecting God here on earth, they're going to reject Him at the moment, because they're just not going to be they're not going to be in just this state of grace to actually want to be with Him. Now, we do, of course, hope that when someone dies and everything, that's why we have, of course, the sacraments of the church. There's, for example, someone can have like absolution in their deathbed and the whole thing. And of course, we do have moments in that we have to trust in His mercy too. But sometimes someone will continue to reject, and so thank you for that. I mean, it's definitely something that we have to.
I guess that kind of ties into what I'm thinking about is like in our daily lives and our daily practice of faith, if our goal is eventually to get to heaven or to get to purgatory or whatever, what can we do? Is it either just going to church, going to sacraments? Like how do you live out the desire to get to heaven practically?
Well, yeah, it's very simple actually. Living in the state of grace, and we have every instrument we have everything that we need. We have the sacraments. We have Jesus Himself present in the Eucharist. We have confession, in which we have the opportunity to, if we do fall, to come back to grace. We have, of course, daily prayer, which is the only way that it will enable us to start falling in love with Him in such a way that we won't have to go through that in purgatory, because it's already happening now. The more we are filled with Him, the more we're going to be loving and accepting of His grace. So that, the whole thing about like Brother Daniel that rejected, the more we're close to Him, the less graces we're going to reject, and we're going to become bigger instruments. And the more we are in love with Him and making Him the center of our life, the less that we're going to be attached to other things, beginning, of course, with sin. And so the less that we're going to have to go through the purification. And then, of course, God will enable us, because if we do that, we can make it straight there. And you know what's another huge way? Of course, is suffering. But suffering, taking it well. because suffering is our cross. And Jesus himself says, take your cross and follow me. And it is the narrow way, like you're saying, but we all have the opportunity to take our cross and make it an instrument of our way of just living our life, you know. The cross, on the other hand, can make us bitter, you know, and rebellious. And some people actually use their cross as a way to reject God and to want nothing to do with him. And we had to make sure that that's not the case in our lives, because we can use our cross as an excuse to not live according to his ways. And we're going to live in such a way that is going to be not according to his friendship. Because in the end, basically, and if you see the catechism, it is through our friendship with him that we enter to purgatory or to heaven. If we don't want to be friends, even if the friendship is last minute, he wants us because he's merciful. But if we refuse to be friends, we're not going to want it, you know. And then if we reject his friendship, he's not going to force his friendship upon us. It's that simple. He will never ever force himself upon us. He is a gentleman, and he respects our desires and wills. Because if not, then we wouldn't need to be even worried about it, you know. But we do worry because we have to want to know that friendship has to be the center of our life, that love relationship. We have to be in love with him.
I actually have two questions. One is that if you're in purgatory and like you said there's no like set timeline, is it you who decides that you're ready to be Jesus, or would Jesus ask you again if you were ready to be with him?
No, it would be, I mean, it's until you're purified, really. Until your soul is as purified as it can be. We remember that all of our souls, in a way, are very unique. And so it's not like, we're all unique. Every creation is unique, you know. We're like, if he even makes like snowflakes unique, you know, much more our souls. And so our souls are meant to be as holy as they're meant to be, you know. So in purgatory we go through that, and in the same way that, like Saint Therese of Lisieux will say that her for example, soul, she considers her a little flower, you know, so she's one of the most powerful souls of the church, and she's like a doctor of the church. She would say, I'm a little flower compared to like in these garden of different flowers. Well, that's the way souls are. So you're supposed to be who you're meant to be, who you're created to be, and that should happen now. That always, like, if we're going to like have a theme of this whole talk, is that everything that we're talking about purgatory is not something that should make us in any way feel like, okay, so I can relax now because we're going to have it later. It's to remind us that everything should happen now. We have everything to happen now, and it's a lot less painful if it happens now. But then if we die and we want that friendship, and we want that friendship enough, and in the sense that he shows his mercy and he wants it, then he gives us this like chance of purgatory, this mercy.